Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com and managing director of Tinnitus Classics, our very own record label. And boy, have we got a project coming for you. It arose out of a conversation that I was having with my good friend and fabulous piano guy and general all-around critic and musical performance person, Jed Disler, a true polymath if ever there was one. We were talking about the new Ormandy edition that's coming and speculating on whether or not they would restore some exposition repeats that might have been cut. We didn't remember which ones, but we thought somewhere in there, people make recordings and they make them. So one of you asked me, do they make long takes, complete movements? Usually not. Usually they make things in sections and then edit them together. And one of the things that happens, especially in pieces of the classical period that have long repeated sections in their first movements, the exposition section of the first movement, sometimes conductors take these repeats, sometimes they don't. But if they did, it obviously makes the movement longer. And sometimes the original recording was issued maybe on 3 sides with a coupling, and then it was later re-edited to be only on 2 LP sides. Hurt my finger there. It's okay. 2 LP sides. And in order to accommodate this without a terrible loss of sound quality or because of the technology of the day, they edited out the repeat. So it's on the cutting room floor somewhere. And that's that. And then when they go and transfer these things to CDs, do they restore the original repeat? Do they not? Did the artist care? We have no idea. Actually, we didn't come to any conclusion about this, but we did get to thinking, and we thought to ourselves, rather than worry about what the editors are doing at these labels, because that never makes any sense. Anyway, Tinnitus Classics should ride to the rescue because these days it's customary to observe exposition repeats. It just is. It's considered, it's part of the authenticity movement and whatnot, but to take composers at their word when they write a repeat and to play the repeat. So that means that a lot of pieces that we grew up with, that we never heard exposition repeats, actually have them. But some of the very best performances, really the best, the most outstanding, fabulous performances, don't have them. And that's a terrible, terrible pity. So now, for the first time ever, Tinnitus Classics presents all of the missing exposition repeats from great recordings of classic repertoire. And what does that mean? Well, take a wonderful conductor like Bruno Walter. Bruno Walter was known for his Mozart, for his Beethoven, for his Brahms, and he never, ever took exposition repeats in first movements. Well, we fixed that. It's no longer a problem because we have the Bruno Walter Spectacular. The first 3 tracks of this particular disc contain the exposition repeats of Beethoven's Pastoral Symphony, the Brahms Third Symphony, and, Mozart's G Minor Symphony. All of these exposition repeats, they're wonderful, and Walter never used to play them, and it was such a pity. So we really ought to have them, don't you think? So now we do. It's just the repeats, not the rest of the symphony, because we already have the rest of the symphony. We don't need them. But we do give you the repeat so that you can hear the same music that you hear at the beginning of the symphony all over again. And then if you feel like going on and playing the rest of the symphony, well, that's your prerogative. If it doesn't make any difference to you and you're just happy hearing the repeat, you can just play the repeat and you'll be thrilled. We know that Bruno Walter would be so excited to know that these classic performances sound even better if you have access to the repeats. Of course, we can't insert them into the actual performance because we don't own the license to the actual performance itself. We can only give you the repeat. Beggars can't be choosers, right? So let's look at another work that these days gets too many repeats. Oh my goodness, Schubert's Ninth Symphony, a great C major symphony. If you play it with all the repeats, it's absolutely lethal, particularly in the scherzo. Oh my God, it becomes the longest movement in the symphony, which is patently insane. I mean, it really is. And people have done that. And the result is that the proportions are all out of whack. It was much better back in the day when people probably did none of them, but at least they were consistent, in doing none of them. But it reestablished a certain balance with the inner movements being, the slow movement, of course, is also quite large, but that scherzo would have a lot of repetition. It's a very long movement in a quick 1, 3/4 time, and you don't want to deal with that. No. But that first movement, Exposition, that's a nice repeat. It really is a nice repeat, and particularly after the big, long introduction. It helps to firm up the form of the first movement. But two of the very greatest recordings of Schubert's Ninth, George Szell and Charles Munch, have no first movement exposition repeats. Well, now they do. Yes, you can hear those repeats. Again, it would be nice if you could hear what's going on in the rest of the movement, but, why complain? Let's just do the repeats. I think that would really be marvelous. And so we have the exposition repeats of the Szell Schubert Ninth, the Sony one, not the EMI Warner one, the Sony one, and the RCA Munch Schubert Ninth. And oh, how fabulous they sound. Those are such great performances. In fact, having heard the repeat, you may want to go and actually listen to the entire performance of the symphony. That would be really, really nice, wouldn't it? But in the meantime, we have those repeats, and they are absolutely spectacular. It's also a problem with, for example, Thomas Beecham's Haydn symphonies. Those elegant, wonderful, lively performances with the first movements having no repeats. It's just a scandal. It really is. Until now. And the nicest thing about them is that, he did the London symphonies, and the first set, numbers 93 through 97, the first 6 of them, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98. Yeah, okay, whatever it is, the first 6 of them, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104. Now it's 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98. What am I forgetting? It doesn't make any difference. There are 12 of them. The first 6 were mono. The last 6 were stereo. But all of these exposition repeats are in stereo. For the first time ever, you get to hear Beecham's mono Haydn Symphony, London Symphonies first set in stereo. Yes. Now, why is it I can't count to 6? 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98. That's 6, right? 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104. Yes! Numbers 93 through 98. Those are the ones that are in stereo. It just took me a little while to get that straight. And only the exposition repeats. None of the rest of the symphonies. Because, again, we haven't quite licensed those. We don't have the rights to use them. But it doesn't make any difference because the elegance that is Sir Thomas comes through. Even these brief exposition repeats. And there's a special bonus. We have a special bonus on this particular disc. And wait till you see what this is happening in this series. But the bonus is this. When Sony initially released the complete Dvorak Slavonic dances with George Szell, they took up 2 discs, a disc and a half actually, and there was like Smetana or something on the other side. And when they put them on one disc, they cut out the repeats. These weren't even exposition repeats. These were just sectional repeats. Of course, they put them back on the CD. When it was released on CD, mostly they put them back. But I thought it would be even more exciting to have just the edited out repeats from the LP version. Now, granted, these are exactly the same things that you can hear complete on the CD version, but LPs are coming back into fashion now, aren't they? So we might as well have the LP excerpted, cut, sectional repeats in the Szell Dvorak Slavonic dances. Having restored that, it's going to be, this record is going to be a million seller. I just know it is. And when it is a million seller, I can promise you now that we're going to have a whole new disc of exposition repeats in the Schubert B-flat Piano Sonata, number 21. The last Schubert Piano Sonata, that big mother that everybody used to leave out exposition repeats. Oh, it was terrible, just terrible. Schnabel and Kemp and Brendel, they left out all the exposition repeats of the first movement of that sonata. Just because it was going to be like 22 minutes long, what the heck? So the Schubert B-flat Sonata D960, I think it is, isn't it? Deutsch 960 or something like that? Yes, that is going to be the second release in this Tinnitus Classics edition of Famous Artists Omitted Exposition Repeats. And we know you're going to want to buy it, so there will be a special offer announced for ClassicsToday.com subscribers as well as YouTube subscribers as soon as we can get the whole thing organized. We have to get the distribution. We lost our distributor a few months ago. I'm sorry to say, there really aren't any distributors, and we don't have streaming media yet for Tinnitus Classics releases. We were kind of like Hyperion. We liked physical product. So we have to work out a few logistical angles, but it's coming. Just the repeats from Bruno Walter and Munch and George Szell and Eugene Ormandy is Brahms. No, he will do his Brahms symphony repeats too. We're going to do everybody's exposition repeats. It's going to be just a thrill. So keep on listening, friends. Thank you for joining me. Take care.